It is gratifying that the government of Ghana, through NIE, has facilitated the provision of verifiable digital identity for every Ghanaian, which will thereby enhance service delivery, governance, and creating opportunities for growth in the digital economy. The theme for today's public lecture, Empowering Citizens, Exploring the Role of Digital Identity in Socio-Economic Development, is a powerful reminder of the urgency of promoting and raising awareness about the use of digital identities in day-to-day life. It has the potential to impact our lives in numerous ways, from promoting inclusion and facilitating social coordination to transforming how we interact with government services. I hope that the academics amongst us will leverage insights from this timely lecture to put forward a research agenda on digital identity and its role in socio-economic development. Hopefully, we all have a role to play in suggesting possible avenues to engage with this topic and ultimately framing digital identity as an object of research and/or discussion. I look forward to today's presentation, to be delivered by no other person than the Executive Secretary of the National Identification Authority. Thank you, SORT and GIMPA, for organizing this event. Once again, welcome to this public lecture and to GIMPA, and enjoy the presentation. Thank you very much.
Professor Kwekubotsu, Rector of Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm privileged to return to the campus of GIMPA to have a conversation with the academic community of this very vibrant university. In 2005 and 6, under the rectorship of Professor Stephen Adey, I had the privilege of serving as an associate professor of governance and leadership with him. And along the way, working together with Professor Kwame Ahoy, with the late Mr. Asiokon Ntomo Atakra, and with Mrs. Lydia Aporin-Kansa, played some significant role in the establishment of the Faculty of Law. I later moved on to work for the United Nations in Liberia, came back and went into private legal practice, found my way at Central University, and hi, Julie. Yes. And GIMPA has always been a place. I am privileged to be back and to speak to you about the role of digital identity in fostering socio-economic development, even as it empowers citizens. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'll be speaking according to this presentation outline, a brief introduction and a mandate of NIA, and a very brief history of the National Identification Authority in our efforts to establish for ourselves as a people a national identification system. I introduced Ms. Akuyas Tinubu Asare as a representative of Identity Management Systems Limited. I'll speak a little bit about that technical partner and the relationship with them, framed within the framework of a public-private partnership. I'll zero in on the Ghana card. I won't go into its features. I don't want this to be an NIA-centric presentation. I don't want it to be focused on NIA. I want it to be on digital identity and the empowerment of the citizenry and how NIA is advancing that cause. So I'll speak about the Ghana card as a single source of truth and the components of digital identity and the types of digital identity initiatives around the world, and the role of the NIA in advancing this form of identity, and the identity verification system that we have built in this country, and Ghana card registration some interesting statistics and why we need a Ghana card, and some case studies and responses to those case studies. And then I'll touch on challenges confronting the National Identification Authority and some concerns, as well as some recommendations for policy makers. At the end of the day, this is an academic institution. So, by way of introduction, the National Identification Authority was established in 2006 with the mandate of providing for all Ghanaians living in Ghana and abroad, and all legally resident foreign nationals with a national identity card through the National Identification System project. The legally resident foreigners are described by law as all those foreigners living in Ghana for 3 months or longer and who are not diplomats or the representatives of international non-governmental organizations or their spouses and children. The objective of the National Identification System project is to foster a clean and empowered society by two principal mechanisms. The first is by creating a clean and dependable national identity register. A clean national identity register. And the second is by utilizing the national identity card issued to the citizens and the qualified foreigners living in Ghana to promote economic, social, and political development of our dear country, Ghana. So, towards a clean and empowered society. The mandate, to reiterate, NIA has a 5-pronged mandate. As I indicated earlier, the first mandate is to register all Ghanaians living in Ghana and abroad and foreign nationals permanently resident in Ghana onto the National Identity Register. You would notice that, and I imagine that everyone, virtually everyone in this auditorium probably has a Ghana card. That would mean that you are presumably 15 years or over. We strategically focus on those 15 years and over because we didn't want children and adults scrambling together, struggling to get a Ghana card. So we hived off the rest of the population below 15 and said they should wait. Let's get the adults and the parents and the teachers to get a Ghana card first, and all the other professionals. So that, and I mentioned teachers and parents in particular, because when we begin to register those under age 15, these two classes of people would be most important in the process. And so later this year, we will begin the registration of Ghanaians under 15 years by between 6 and 15. The Vice President last week launched the registration of children at birth and up to age 6, the issuance of unique identification personal numbers to these persons. So we will live true to the statutory mandate of registering all Ghanaians, both in Ghana and abroad. And when later this year we are blessed with the resources to begin the registration of Ghanaians abroad, together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, whose Ghana mission staff have the statutory duty of registering Ghanaians living abroad on behalf of the Republic, NIA providing the facilitation, we would be registering Ghanaians, and again, from 0 to infinity. The second mandate of the National Identification Authority is to issue Ghanaians and these eligible foreigners with the Ghana card. The third object, or mandate, is to create and maintain a national identity register, a database. Some simply call it NIA database. And fourth, we are to ensure, one of the most important duties of NIA, we are to ensure the accuracy, the integrity, confidentiality, and security of the data that we collect. very important mandate which requires that you must give us your correct name. If your name is Kweku Mensah Bonsu, you don't come and tell us you are Kweku Bonsu. And if it is Kweku Mensah Bonsu and it is hyphenated, then the significance of the hyphen cannot be missed. When it is taken out, you are a different person. And if you marry as Mary Opuni and you want to become Mary Mary Bonsu, Mensah Bonsu, you should go through the proper legal process and provide evidence of that, the satisfaction of the process, before using that married name to do the registration. Otherwise, we might find a situation where your biometric identity clashes with your biographic identity previously furnished to the National Identification Authority, and your Ghana card application will go into adjudication. It will be arrested, it will join a queue, and then your Ghana card will not be printed until it has been investigated and will be satisfied that you've complied with the appropriate protocols or requirements. And you will go out disgruntled and say that NI has not printed your card, NI is slow. Those who comply with the law and come on time and go through the process, whether it is at a mass registration center or at a premium center, the established protocol is that you get your card within 45 minutes. But only very few people have had that experience because of so many other reasons. But if you are number one in the queue in the morning, that is what you will have. But if you get there without appointment at a premium center, without having gone through the arrangements, and you show up and you are number 200 and there are 300 or 1,000 people ahead of you, you may leave there at about 1 o'clock or so, after you have also, out of frustration or whatever considerations, done what you shouldn't do. Pay a bribe after some people have also subjected you to conditions that will induce you to violate the laws of Ghana in order to achieve personal expediency and comfort. That's not the way we want it to be. I am saying that we are obliged to ensure the accuracy, the integrity, and the confidentiality and security of the data that we collect. So we comply with the data protection laws of the country. We insist on accuracy and we maintain confidentiality, and we take measures against our officers who, without your permission, take your telephone number and call you, because that is a breach of confidentiality. Finally, it is our mandate to make data in our custody available to persons or institutions authorized by law to access the data. And so we've shared data with the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, National Health Insurance Authority, DVLA, and Passport Office, and many other institutions, some of which I will highlight in a moment. But I'll do so after I shared this with you. For over 50 years, we've had a long and tortuous journey for about 50 years of trying to establish for ourselves as a people a national identification system. We began this process in 1973-74 under the leadership of Colonel then, Kutu Echampong, and his National Redemption Council government. In 1987, a technical implementation committee was set up to launch another system. In 95-99, the Social Security and National Insurance Trust attempted to establish a national identification system. In 2001, following President Kufuor's victory, he had a national dialogue on national identification, and from the consultations, a multi-sectoral technical committee was set up to develop a plan of action and time frame. And I think Honorable Stephen Asamoah Boateng, Mr. for Chieftaincy at the moment, and others were key in that process. I remember presenting a paper to that technical committee on the national identification system and the criminal justice system. And my predecessor at NIA, Professor Ernest Dumont, was appointed to head a secretariat that set up the, that was to consider setting up and making recommendations for setting up the National Identification Authority. And they provided a legal framework and the technical framework for the establishment of the NIA. All of that came into fruition in 2006 when the National Identification Authority was set up following the enactment of its enabling legislation. NIA entered into a technical partnership, with a French company, Sagem Sécurité of France, which won an international competitive bidding for the establishment of the NIS, the National Identification System project. And in that exercise, the margins group, of which the Identity Management Systems is a subsidiary, was a subcontractor in the 2007 assignment. I joined NIA in July 2008 as the second executive secretary after Professor Dumont's retirement, and we began the mass registration exercise. I exited in July 2009, and in 2009, the first two-dimensional barcode cards were issued by the NIA. In 2010, Margins ID Group presented a public-private partnership proposal to the government of Ghana for the delivery of ID cards for foreigners living in Ghana. The attempts thus far had been to register Ghanaians, but not foreigners, and the Margins proposal focused on foreigners. In 2012, the project, termed FIMS, Foreigner Identification Management System Project, commenced under a public-private partnership arrangement between NIA and IMS. And the registration of the foreigners commenced proper. Subsequently, in 2017, the successful implementation of the Foreign Identification Management System project encouraged the government to look at expanding under a PPP the arrangements that existed between NIA and IMS, NIA's technical partner. And this was to cover the registration of Ghanaians in Ghana and registration of Ghanaians abroad. The size and capacity of the National Identification System, the technical system, was expanded to accommodate that expanded mandate. In 2018, legislative reforms were effected to limit the principal documents for establishing eligibility to register as a Ghanaian to birth certificate and valid passport. The model for registration of Ghanaians was piloted for Ghanaians to receive their Ghana cards instantly upon registration. Instead of registering, the data is collected, stored on a CD-ROM from wherever, taken back to Accra from Tumu or Zibila or Axim. Then downloaded onto a machine, cards are printed, boxed, batched, and then shipped back to origin and then distributed. That process resulted in the issuance of only 900,000 cards between 2008 and 2017. And during that whole period, only 4 million cards were printed. Fast forward to 2017, following these changes, 2018, we began the piloting. 2019, we started in April 2019, the mass registration exercise. It was interrupted by COVID a bit, but we recovered and went back. And by September, we started on the 29th of April, 2019. By September 2020, after the COVID lockdown, when we'd gone back, we had registered over 16 million Ghanaians within that 1 year and a bit period. So in 2019, mass registration commenced, and we registered Ghanaians 15 years and above. And we also, in September 2020, commenced institutional registration, household and premium registration services. This institutional refers to where an institution like GIMPA writes to NIA and says, come and register our staff and students. Now, if you have 100 persons or more, then at a fee of 100 Ghana cedis per person, you will come and register. And for GIMPA, for example, everyone pays a token fee for transportation, kilometric distance. So from your school to from our head office to your school, very small fee. It is still available. You can invite us. We will happily come. And that is available. We also have household registration. You can invite us to come to your home. We are still doing that. And if you have 5 persons or more, 50. 7 persons or more. 7 persons or more, we will come, and that is at a fee of 150 cedis per person. A lot of families that have invalid members or for whatever reason cannot go to a registration center or NIA office, take advantage of that. One person may want us to come and register him or her, and they'll just pay the fee for the 7 persons, and then we come and deliver the service. Then we have a premium registration center. We have about 10 of them across the country, plus the one at the head office. There's one also at the Car Bank head office, and these fees I'm mentioning are specified by Parliament under the Fees and Charges Act. So in 2021, we established November 2021, we established 16 regional offices and 276 district operational offices. Our districts are coterminous with the constituencies in this country. So they are not the same as the 261 regular administrative districts. Ours includes SOL, and so we have 276 district offices. If you put them together with the NIA head office, we have about 292 offices nationwide. And anyone who wants to get a Ghana card and says, I cannot get one, is fibbing, cannot be telling the truth. If you cannot get one, maybe you haven't met the criteria, you are not satisfied NIA staff that you are a proper or eligible person to get it. Let me speak briefly about since 2022, we are doing continuous registration. We are providing all these registration services that I mentioned, institutional, household, and premium. And we have onboarded a number of what the law calls user agencies. We have onboarded them onto our national identification system, the verification system, that enables the identities of persons to be verified and the results conveyed in split second, in milliseconds. This is not something you wait for 10 minutes or 5 minutes to verify. In a millisecond, the result, it goes to NIA headquarters from wherever you're doing it. You're doing the verification from anywhere in the world, from Andorra to Azerbaijan, or Accra, or Abekwase. You do it, and it will go to the NIA database, go through it, and run through all the millions of faces and fingerprints and irises and the rest of them, and give you a response in record time, less than a second, that the person standing before you is who they say they are or not. And since January of 2022, we have done more than 120 million verifications, and there hasn't been a single hitch or failure. It is an astonishing accomplishment that is hardly recognized. if this were done by some institution in some white man's country, some Euro-American country, it will be celebrated, acknowledged around the world. This is homegrown and it is superb, even if we say so ourselves. So let me tell you how this has been possible. We have been in partnership with Identity Management Systems Limited. They are the technical partners of NIA. They conceptualized, designed, and built the technical system, as I said, in 2012. And we have expanded the scope of that technical system, made the necessary change requests, and made it fit for the purpose of registering Ghanaians at home and abroad. In the past, it used to be just the foreigners. IMS has also supplied registration equipment and the secure ID card printers that we use around the country. They have also provided maintenance and support services of all the project technical assets. And they've also financed the performance of the technical systems through agreed SLAs. And they have been responsible for the production, personalization, and issuance of national identity cards instantly to the citizens. And this is significant. There is nowhere in the world where during mass registration, instant card issuance has happened. Now, the 292 offices that I talk about as existent today, during mass registration, that could be the number of registration centers in a region. Now, that is the number of registration centers in the whole country. Now, cards are printed simultaneously, instantly in all of those places. If you don't get your card instantly, it's not witchcraft. It's simply because there's network failure or connectivity challenge, or there's a jam. Very rarely, but there's a technical hitch. Just as sometimes you call your own number and it says you are switched off. If we're doing this in the United Kingdom or Canada or some other developed Euro-American country, a lot of the challenges we had wouldn't have happened. But they were not the result of the technical system that we built, but the environment in which we operated. So they provided support for the mass registration exercise and some of the communication, and provided information and support on, not information, but support on data transmission infrastructure and the deployment of a call center to which people could lodge complaints or raise concerns. NIA has been responsible for the operations. And I heard Colonel Gansa here, head of operation. I don't know if he's here, but the entire operations is for NIA to undertake. We formulated relevant laws, had them passed by Parliament, and enforced the law on the mandatory use of the Ghana card. And there are about 17 mandatory uses of the Ghana card. The things you cannot do without the Ghana card. I'm sure everyone knows about SIM card registration and a few other things, but land acquisition and all of that. And I can imagine the time will come very soon where if you don't have the Ghana card, you may not be able to rent private accommodation. Your landlord or landlady would be asking you to verify your identity, and we can be sure of who was or is living in your apartment. And hotels will begin to insist on Ghana card production, whether you are a foreigner or a Ghanaian, that you produce your Ghana card. GIMPA could easily be asking for all the identities of all students and faculty to be verified in order to, at a small fee, in order to ensure that, especially when you're writing exams, that nobody can stand in for another. And as you enter this hall, you could be tapping or swiping your Ghana card on a small biometric device. and you will know all the persons who are in this room and the time they entered or exited. And God forbid, if there is an accident, by the same token, you know how many kids were on the Kufuor bus that had the accident. All of those benefits about efficiency, reliability, productivity, and dependability. That's what we are doing. That's what NIA is committed to establishing. We have responsibility for operational activities, for mass education, and for compliance, ensuring that we comply with the law and that our activities also promote good governance. So we have a topic that focuses on digital identity. This encompasses the unique features and credentials that distinguish a person or an organization in digital communication. It includes the biographic data of a person, such as his name, date of birth or age, address, etc. And biometric data, such as fingerprints, your iris, and your facial contours, the face. Digital credentials digital credentials are also included in the concept of digital identity. And here we're talking about usernames and passwords and the rest. What digital identity does is simply serve as a means of identification, a means of verification, a means of authentication, and a means of authorization. So, examples of digital identities include the Ghana card, the passport, and the driver's license. All these identity documents contain your biometric data, your biographic data, and digital credentials. And they are necessary. It is necessary to have this kind of infrastructure because we know too well that all of us present the face and the words that demand or convey trust. But often when we have trusted people, we have been betrayed. And it reminds me of one of the last SALT conferences, the Strategic Arms Limitation conferences that were being held, the meetings between the United States and Russia. Another one in, I think, Reykjavik in Greenland, when the signing was taking place, the signing of the agreement. President Gorbachev signed the credentials, the agreement, and then passed it on to Ronald Reagan, President Reagan of the United States, to sign. And then President Reagan started reading what Mikhail Gorbachev had signed. And Gorbachev was surprised. And he said, Chalena, this thing, we have all agreed back there that we are going to sign, and our people, technical and diplomatic, have all sorted this out. Why are you reading it? And then Ronald Reagan said in Russian to President Mikhail Gorbachev of Russia that there is an ancient Russian proverb that says, trust but verify. Trust but verify. So even though he trusted his colleague Gorbachev, he wanted to verify. When we have verified, we have sometimes found people to be fake. Almost every day, we catch people, Ghanaians who present foreigners as their uterine siblings. That this is my mother's daughter, and her name is Akosia Mansa Pokua. And Ghanaian woman brings her there and says, that's my younger sister, or brother, as the case may be. And then when you interrogate them, our officers even interview, not interrogate, they find that this cannot be, it's not plausible. Because of that, we have a Criminal Investigations Department attached to NI headquarters. We refer these people there, and almost every day we catch some. And they are taken to the courts, they are prosecuted, some of them are deported, the documents are seized, and some get jail term and or fine, and sometimes it's just a fine and deportation. And it happens all over. Trust, but verify. And those doing the verifications at the bank are having a good night's sleep. Those failing to do the verifications, making photocopies of people's ID cards and providing them a service. A photocopy doesn't constitute an ID, a verification. And one big famous bank in town failed to do verification, did an ocular inspection of a person's, an applicant's Ghana card, and went ahead to provide a service. At the end of the day, they lost 162,000 Ghana cedis for failing to do verification. Now you notice that the refrain, oh, go back to NI, your Ghana card is not good. You are not hearing that anymore. The Ghana card has always been good, but it's always easy to flog a dead horse. We've never been dead, but if you give the horse or the dog a bad name, you can always do funny things to it. Now NIA is on the rebound because those institutions that were telling you whether you were registering your SIM card, those telcos that were telling you funny stories, or the banks, they've all stopped saying those things, whilst we have done nothing. Because they have now acquired the verification systems or devices that enables them to properly verify. I remember when I was trying to link my SIM card with my Ghana card. We went to the stadium, and a lady at one of the telcos looked at, took my card, tried it, and said my Ghana card wasn't good. I should go to NIA. We had rented a space at the stadium, and they were basically piggybacking on us. Space. Then the lady, I went to the NIA, they checked my card right there, and they said my card was good. I went back to the lady, she fidgeted with it for a while and said, I should come again tomorrow. These two wonderful ladies were with me, Joycelyn and Theresa. I went back the next day, and somebody else did it. And my Ghana card was saintly, and everything was pristine and well done. It was competence. A competence issue. So it is important to verify, trust, but verify. Thank you, sir. Wonderful. So, what are the components of a digital identity? First, identification information such as name, date of birth, and unique identifiers, like social security number or national identification number. Second, authentication credentials. Here, we're talking about credentials that are used to verify the identity of the identity of an entity, such as GIMPA. And then, and this is done via passwords, PIN numbers, biometric data such as fingerprints, facial recognition, or cryptographic keys. The third is authentication attributes. And here we're talking about permissions and roles associated with the identity, specifically what actions or resources the entity is allowed to access. Fourth is biographical information. And here, additional details about the entity or person, including contact information, residential address, employment history, for example, are required. The types of digital identity that are found, typically individual digital identity. And this represents a single person and includes personal information, authentication credentials, and possibly biometric data. Organizational digital identity, and so speaking about institutions, this represents a business, corporation, or other legal entity. And it includes information such as business registration details, ownership structure, and authorization attributes for employees. You find a lot of what the Registrar of Companies does. That office is connected with organizational digital identity. Then device digital identity. Your mobile phone, smartphones, computers are examples of devices that possess unique digital identity. So you lose your iPhone, for example, there are mechanisms for tracking it as a unique entity or a device and having it back because of that dynamic interaction within the digital ecosystem. Around the world, there are digital identity initiatives such as the Ghana card and the digital identity system in Estonia. Estonia, probably the most digitalized society on planet Earth. And the Aadhaar system in India, which is a unique numbering system, pretty much like a Pokuari secondary school. And so you can do it cheaper, as some people believe, than what we are doing. But it doesn't include biometric material, and it doesn't do any of the things that a Ghana card does. It gives you a unique number, so it's possible to give that to the billions of people living in India at a much lower cost. But you don't compare apples with, oranges. Then we have the mobile-based ID systems that operate in Kenya, Namibia, and Nigeria. And our sister country, Nigeria, doesn't have anything close to what it is that we have here. And they use the bank numbers, bank cards of, so whether it's GT Bank or it is Visa card or MasterCard or American Express, it is the card and the chip on it that is used. So the role of the NIA in advancing digital identity. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rector, the Ghana card, a digital public infrastructure, demonstrates how digital identity can empower individuals, how it can enhance security and drive socioeconomic progress in the modern world. We find, for example, considerable mess in the identity ecosystem in Ghana. The issues that make up the elements or that reflect the mess I'm talking about. Multiple unverifiable identity registers, falsification of identity and personal information. You can be who you want to be in a day. So one day you can go to DVLA and you are Kenneth Ajiman. Then the next day you go to passport office and you are Kenneth Atifa. And then you can go to Social Security and National Insurance Trust. Then you can be Kenneth Kwesi Ajiman Atifa. And then when you meet a lady, you can be Lord Ken. And all these places you can also have, especially with the latter interaction, the one with the lady, you can have much younger age. Whereas with all the others, you can have increased age in order to be eligible for driver's license, increased age in order to be eligible for all kinds of things. A classmate of mine, when I was in London last July, I found out that he was actually 7 years older than me. And he said that, it is because when he was applying for passport in 1977, he was told to increase his age. Otherwise, passport office wouldn't give him. So he increased his age by 7. He retired a long time ago. Then, each time I go to London, the guy was at home. So I asked him, so my retired, I retired in 2019, but the guy had retired several years before me. And it's because they are a different age altogether. And so in Ghana, classmate is not indicative of age, proximity, or similarity. In fact, it may be a long distance reality. But difficulty in economic planning is one of the results due to insufficient data structures for analysis. And we have high level of financial fraud and ineffective distribution of public resources for economic and social development. Because of this, we needed to find some solutions. The Ghana card presents a single source of truth in identity management. So, what we have done is to revamp the national identification system and create a single source of truth based on one legal identity for every person at every place. This is the foundation for securely verifying the identities of people, either in person or remotely in real time. So, why do you need a Ghana card? As a citizen, the Ghana card does a number of things for you. First, it fosters the identification and verification when you are opening a bank account or withdrawing or receiving money. It is easier to loan, it fosters easier loan acquisition due to easy verification and traceability with a PIN number, a PIN or biometric data. You can run, but you cannot hide. And the police regularly contact NIA for data on people. We don't even give biometric data. We haven't gone there yet. But just with biographic data and like digital address and telephone number and all of that, the guy is sitting at the bar drinking beer after defrauding someone. And based on the information NIA provided, the police surprises the person and they feel the feel of handcuffs. It fosters the linkage to exported and imported goods at Ghana's ports to prevent fraud and theft. Also, the use of the card for enrollment in schools to prevent fraud in admissions and student loans. The boosting of job search chances by verifying a person's identity. And a lot of the claims on CVs, I'm sure as school administrators especially, we know that too well, the bogus claims. The Ghana card has come to aid in creating a more trustworthy society, a trusted society. And we can also use our database to help institutions such as this to clean up their databases. And you'll be shocked by some of the statistics that have been uncovered with some of our cognate institutions where data duplication and all of that have been identified by our technical partner, Identity Management Systems Limited. The identification and verification when opening bank accounts, sorry, I have. Socio-economic for Ghana as a nation. For Ghana as a nation. The Ghana card fosters socio-economic inclusion, access to services. It facilitates access to various governmental services. And you know who you are dealing with. There is also a number of validation services for the validation of identities at airports, at borders, at police checkposts, etc. The authentication of citizens' name name, address, date of birth, etc. And e-governance initiatives. The Ghana card supports e-government initiatives aimed at digitizing public services and improving government efficiency. And I illustrated by even entering the auditorium how efficient that can be, and avoidance of congestion. There are instances where people are required to, write their name and address. I gave a lecture at UCC, and there was a long queue, and when we were inside waiting, I asked what was happening outside, about 15 minutes after we were seated. And it was because people were writing name, faculty, and then something else, and then signing. All of that, for each of them, could be done in half a second with Ghana Card, and we would achieve efficiency. Digital economy participation. The Ghana Card enables individuals to engage in online shopping and digital payments and other electronic transactions securely. Somebody rented another person's, one of these Airbnb, and stayed in for about a month, and had become so familiar with the owner and looked so decent. Then the guy wouldn't pay and disappeared. They complained to NIA, and I just told the person, you tell them that you are reporting to the police, which is the procedure. You report to the police, then the police will write to NIA, and they will say that we want particulars about this person, legitimate request, and we give it to them. The digital address is working so well. You may not find your route using your Google map, but if we give your digital address to the police, they can find you, and it is working well. And creating efficiencies in this important department. So let's look at a number of institutions in this regard. The Electoral Commission. By reliance on the Ghana Card, we would eliminate the cost of the periodic voter registration compilation that goes on in this country every 4 years. Completely needless after we adopt, it will be needless after we adopt the Ghana Card. The Ghana Card is valid for 10 years, but your data will not expire after 10 years. You just renew the card itself, because the card body, after 10 years, just like all of us, will begin to get weak and brittle and all of that. Just as a lot of us over 60 are getting weak and sometimes brittle. So you need to renew. And I'm not talking spiritual renewal. I'm asking that you go and pay a small fee and get a new Ghana Card, but it will bear your unique personal identification number. But like a passport, that document will have a new number, but your personal number will not change. It will be there and follow you throughout the rest of your life. It will help eliminate the cost. Then the issuance of secure ID smart cards with 10-year life cycle, as I've indicated, and it will eliminate concerns about voter fraud due to the high database integrity that we have. Contestations about nationality and age will become a thing of the past. Enhanced inclusiveness due to its fast, accurate enrollment and verification. And it has indubitable credibility. We would have a voter register that is trustworthy. You cannot manipulate it in any way. And this is also because we will have the principle of indubitability embedded in it. The provision, the instantaneous provision of the data to these multiple institutions, the user agencies, will ensure that if you were to tamper, it's not possible, but if you were able to tamper with the register of DVLA, you cannot tamper with the register of the Electoral Commission that has been given to the Electoral Commission or given to Senate or any of these cognate institutions. And so we will have a much more trustworthy identification and verification system. Then, with respect to GRA, we widen the tax net by including the informal sector, improve domestic revenue collection, and prevent tax-related identity theft. The births and deaths registry will also have a situation where we control the entry of births and deaths, the entry and exit on the national identification system, because we are registering every birth and every death. And when a person is dead, we can verify with a Ghana card whether they are dead or alive. If you administer the finger of a deceased person on our devices, verification devices, it will confirm that the person is deceased. If you are alive and you pretend to be dead, and we administer your finger on it, it will show that you are alive. Pathologists and a lot of doctors are excited about this possibility, but it is a reality already. So that will enable us to have accurate national mortality statistics, and that will inform planning for future health, education, and other social services. We'll have regular updates of data fields in the national identification system per law, and will maintain a credible, accurate, verifiable database. For the financial institutions, generally, we will have an enhanced know your customer procedures and increased financial inclusion, reduced fraud, and improved credit scoring and increased efficiency. For the DVLA, we will also, connecting national ID numbers to all vehicle records and driver's licenses, and this will ensure that duties on cars are paid by the parties that own them. We'll have a streamlined verification processes, improved data accuracy, and up-to-date data records. We will have enhanced security and prevent fake verification licenses. Similarly, with the passport office, it will provide protection against identity theft, reduce the time and cost of passport delivery. The Ghana card will facilitate travel. It already facilitates travel within the ECOWAS region, and your Ghana card is also called ECOWAS identity card. And that's because by a protocol signed by the West African heads of states and government in, I think, December 2014, they agreed that each country will issue to their nationals an ECOWAS identity card, which will be biometric and meet certain standards and criteria. Ghana signed on to that under President Mahama. This government decided to honor that obligation and continue. But by virtue of our law in 2007, Act 707, we were to issue Ghana cards to Ghanaians. So we approached ECOWAS and explored the possibility of combining the two cards into one. And ECOWAS agreed, and we satisfied all their high standards and protocols. And so we merged it, saving this country a great deal of money that would have been spent in the separate processes of getting the ECOWAS ID card and the Ghana card also. So it will reduce the time and cost of passport delivery, and it will, as I said, facilitate travel in the ECOWAS region. It will protect privacy and ensure secure identity of the traveler, and reduce the verification processes, time, expedited service to the customer due to the verification time being reduced to 1 second. We also have data harmonization and integration with our user agencies. This enables for the cleaning up of the databases of our sister institutions such as SNIT and DVLA and Passport Office and the rest of them. The NIS facilitates seamless data integration among diverse publics and private sector institutions, enabling them to collaborate harmoniously. It enables the creation of a single source of truth, eliminate data silos, eliminate ghost names, and is essential for the operation of SNIT, Passport Office, Birth and Death Registry, Electoral Commission, DVLA, National Health Insurance Authority, and other user agencies. So I mentioned the identity verification system. It enables institutions to biometrically verify the identities of persons with whom they transact business. And as I indicated earlier, since January 2022, we have performed over 120 million verifications without a single hitch. Some registration statistics as of now. As at 15th March 2024, we have registered 15.7 million citizens. We registered 15.7 million citizens in the first year. We have 250,000 registrations a day during the March registration. 250,000 registrations a day. We had 85% of registered citizens issued their Ghana cards instantly. 85% had their Ghana cards issued instantly. It is noteworthy that the first issuance of the card is free. It is the second and subsequent issuance that would attract a fee. As of 15th March 2024, 17,918,135 Ghanaians have been registered onto the National Identity Register. 17,133,993 Ghana cards have been issued as at 15th March. So this statistics here, 15.7, refers to the number that was issued during the first year. That's the mass registration. This one is as at 15th March. And when I say issued, I mean given to Ghanaians to take home with them. Some interesting registration statistics. We have 3,336,767 million students registered, or this number of persons describe themselves as students. Then we have 1,058,393 persons who describe themselves as unemployed registered. And then we have 13,522,894 Ghanaians saying that they were employed. This number of Ghanaians say they are employed. We can compare that with what Ghana Statistical Service may say, or research from GIMPA may say. So, a couple of case studies. So, good morning, Prof. Atefa. I need to change my Ghana card due to a name change. I did the Ghana card under my then married name, XYZ. I subsequently got divorced and changed to my maiden name, ABC, as evidenced by the attached gazette. I later remarried and changed my name to ABL. Again, evidenced by a second gazette. I tried to amend my Ghana card, and your officers insisted on my using one gazette and refused to accept the second gazette or any other. My current marriage certificate, which supports the name change, does not have the name XYZ, which is on the Ghana card. Please, I need your help to amend my card. Thank you. So, our response. Insofar as proof of the update exists, that is, of the change exists, you must provide it. Now, the law mandates NIA under Section 11 of the National Identity Register Act, Act 750, as amended, to request an individual applicant to furnish it with proof of the accuracy of any particulars that have been submitted in respect of the individual. Although a gazette notification is an official document, NIA is permitted by law to require an applicant to furnish it with any information it may require to verify an entry in the register beyond notification. You must know that the Gazette notification is only a publication informing the world that you say something, that you say that this is your new name, this is your new date of birth. It does not constitute proof of the accuracy of the information that it gazettes or notifies the world above. Your affidavit is your say-so. You go to a lawyer or commissioner for oaths and you tell them certain things. They type it and they stamp it and all of that. They may even notarize it if it's going abroad. But the point is that it is still your say-so. When you say, and I solemnly declare this to be true and all of that, they have no way of challenging you. That's not their business either. But when you bring it to the National Identification Authority, it is our statutory duty to ensure the accuracy of the information, and we will subject you to that proof. NIA may therefore reject a Gazette notification if the applicant is unable to prove the contents of the Gazette notification. Case study number 2. Good morning, Prof. Tefa. I wish to change my surname on my Ghana card. At the time I registered for the Ghana card, I was single. I am now married. I presented an affidavit in support of my application, but the registration officers insist that I present a Gazette notification. Why? Response. An affidavit is a self-serving document deposed to by an applicant and cannot be a substitute for a Gazette notification. The law requires the applicant to gazette the change or correction at Assembly Press to the world, publish it to the whole world, before it can be legally recognized as a change. Note, however, that NIA is required to ask further questions during an update process to confirm the details on any document, including the Gazette notification provided by an applicant requesting an update service. This makes NIA very, very unpopular. Finally, case study number 3. The number 3 that I spoke about. Can I change my date of birth? No. Now, every applicant has only one date of birth. You're born only once. It cannot be changed. It can, however, be corrected if a registration officer mistakenly captured a date of birth that was different from what was stated on the mandatory verification document you presented during registration, that's your passport or birth certificate, or stated on your application form during registration. We call it Form 1. Some people deliberately put their birth certificate and even passport, they have both. They put them aside, then they come and somebody vouches for them. Then they can choose any name, any date of birth, any parents, anything they want. And somebody vouches for them. And that's the end of story. Well, the proof must have existed prior to the applicant applying for his or her Ghana card. In such instances, the applicant needs to provide at least the original copies of 2 documents which were created before the date of registration for the Ghana card. There's a doctor who has 3 different dates of birth in our records and is seeking to use one that is much younger. And there's a 10-year gap between what he wants and what was used earlier. At the end, to get a Ghana card, at the end of the day, he may get become 10 years younger or not. But the point is simply that the proof that you are the new age you want must have pre-existed, that must have been available before the time you applied. And that's significant. And you may not have anything, but you may have your JSS graduation or JSS results or certificate. And whilst it may not be accurate, it may establish by deduction the year, roughly, when you were born. But if it is like 5 or 7 years or something like that, we cannot rely on it just because you present it. So some challenges and concerns about digital identity. In these parts of the world, not too many people complain about digital identity registration. But if you go to some parts of the world, Dora was in Kosovo, and they were so shocked. I mean, she was at an identity conference, and they were so shocked that we could register so many people within a year. A lot of people, I mean, it's not compulsory, but you find that you needed to do so many things. So, and we don't have a lot of conscientious objectors around identity. But in Canada and many other places, identity studies is a whole discipline because of complex issues in this domain. Privacy and data security threats, lack of political will and direction, non-existence of legal and regulatory framework for a data ecosystem, and not in the case of Ghana, but sometimes elsewhere, the point I have made, contestations around why Big Brother is not watching you. They are concerned that this amounts to Big Brother is watching you. And so, yes, but for us, there is a veritable instrument for national development. And so we have a couple of recommendations for policy makers. We believe that there is a need to develop robust regulatory frameworks. The legal framework of the National Identification System is well established and particularly made tangible and extremely successful with the public-private partnership arrangement. We must stress that this arrangement became necessary because the previous arrangements where Ghana government had gone solo failed. The previous arrangements where Ghana government had partnered with SAGEM failed. This time, a local partner in a PPP arrangement with a local partner absorbing the cost of building the technical system, maintaining it, providing the bulk of the equipment and all of that, have ensured the success of this exercise. We must promote interoperability and standards, the harmonization and collaboration with other statutory bodies such as SNIT, GRA, NHIA, DVLA, Passport Office, and the like, and some other user agencies have facilitated the cleanup and the dependability of the database. Data sharing for population census and annual biometric verification of pensioners as mandated by SNIT. And very soon it would be the case that Ghana Statistical Service would not need to send persons from home to home to register, to count people, how many Ghanaians or foreigners are in this country. With a click of a button, it may be possible to get the data that we spend so much money and so much time on. This system also calls for investment in infrastructure and education to highlight NIA's communications efforts before, during, and after mass registration. And this conversation today is part of that initiative of communicating about our activities after the mass registration and focusing attention on how the system can empower the citizenry. So, Mr. Rector, ladies and gentlemen, our business was to explore how we can enhance the empowerment of the citizenry through digital identity for the purpose of socio-economic development. Socio-economic development occurs when you expand the scale of the people's well-being. That well-being includes freedom from fraud. It includes access to comfortable, efficient service. It includes being able to depend on the representations that people make to you. If you are a landlord of an apartment building or a small hotel owner, you want to be sure that if somebody boats the next morning after staying there for 3 days and you report it to the police, they can very efficiently track and trace the person, because at the time of renting the premises, the hotel room, you took their Ghana card details. It will assure you, the landlord or the hotel owner, a peace of mind. Socio-economic development also includes psychological well-being and sense of peace of mind. All of these are some of the unwritten assurances that come with the Ghana card, beyond all those 17 mandatory uses of the Ghana card. Buying land, transferring your title in land, registering your business, operating a bank account, personal or corporate, your SIM card, registering to vote, and all the many others, insurance and social security procurement, and many, many others that make up about the 17 mandatory uses of the Ghana card. Mr. Rector, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you most sincerely for your kind attention.